morning, lovely people, and welcome to a new profile interview. This morning, I have with me Chris from Subculture Media, one of the best guys in video editing and video taking I know. We've met year ago in one of the events organized by Whatswhat. And since then, we are trying to figure out how can we work together. And today I have the pleasure to have him with me. So, Chris, if you can share a few words about you, and basically, you can go straight into, after that, you can go straight into why video editing, and why not something else.
Okay, thanks very much. So thanks for having me on the call, and great part of Whatswhat. So my name's Chris Eva, and I run a production company here in Northern Ireland called Subculture Media. So we're a full service video production house, and we create lots of content for different businesses and organizations. And we also produce content and films for broadcasters as well. So when you're asking why video editing, so I began telling stories, I suppose, whenever I was very young as a teenager. I was into skating, so I used to do a lot of skating with my friends, and decided that it would be great that we could film each other doing the skating, doing tricks, jumping down steps, sliding down rails, that sort of things. And I just always had a love of capturing those tricks and the stories behind those tricks, filming the people. So we used to do it from people from the north and people from the south. We used to go to Dublin, to Cork, and be part of this big, huge community of skaters. And that's where I developed, I suppose, a passion for storytelling and capturing stories on camera. And we used to make little short, it was the times of DVDs. So we used to make, DVDs, give them to friends down south, send them to people in England. And at the same time, this culture was developing in America and across the world. So we felt that we were all part of this huge, huge movement, and it was great. It was great to get away into the industry. It was great to learn how to film and edit and put these videos together. So I'll have to show you one. I've still got a couple of DVDs kicking about.
Yeah. I've never tried skating. Like I've done, I was a bike fan, so we did a lot of biking. Like I live in Romania. I live in a city close to the mountains. So through the summer, we used to go biking into the forest, and it was very cool. I'm telling you. Well, many of my friends broke arms and legs and stuff like that, But then during the winter, we have big snows. So during the winter, we just slide. Most of the people they ski, but not skiing is not for me. So slides. We used to take slides and going, having tracks into the forest, through the mountains and going back to the city, and it was very, very cool and dangerous.
Yeah.
Same like what you've done. Did you ever break something? No.
It broke wrists and buckled my kneecaps, all sorts of scrapes and
Uh,
but it was great. I mean, looking back, it was a great way of learning how to visualize. So we'd often watch other people's DVDs, and Americans, like, they were leading the way at the time. So we'd learn new tricks from watching DVDs and then visualizing them and then doing them ourselves and learning how to do them. And it was very much training the mind on how to overcome
yeah.
fear, and so it was great. But yeah, there was a few injuries. It used to.
There always are. Um, when it comes to business, like from your perspective, I, now the industry, the video industry and the media industry is moving. Like you've mentioned DVDs, and from DVDs and the tape cameras we used to have in our times to TikToks and using your phone and short videos. What would be the best from your perspective, video type to be used by businesses in 2024?
Oh well, it has to be social media videos, like now the video is so popular for both businesses and people for recreational uses. But if you're a business and you want to gain visibility, get your message across, you really have to be using video across all different platforms. And that will depend on what type of your business is and who you want to target with your videos. But LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok now are massive platforms for people to be using video. And it's a way better platform, I suppose. It's a way better media to get your message across. If you can spend, 1 minute, a 1 minute, 30-second video and get so much information across in that 30 seconds that's more engaging than you would in any other media, whether it's a text, a written document, or a poster, or an article, or a web page. It's just the best medium at the minute, to be able to get your message across to people. So yeah, just think about where your audience is, what sort of demographic it is that you're targeting, and then create content that will go on platforms that will reach them. That's what I'd say.
Do you think the TV advertising, video advertising was very, very popular at the time? In some parts of the world still are. Like people will pay crazy money to advertise their videos in America, for example, on the uh, the American football games and or the finals or baseball games or whatever it is. Uh, what about Ireland and Northern Ireland? From your expertise and from the information you have available, is the TV video advertising still working?
Yeah, absolutely. It's still working. Obviously now there's so much people have so much more access now, so you can film on a mobile phone and put your content out to social media. However, there's different layers of quality of content that goes out there, and TV is still a very high end, high quality way of getting your message across to thousands, millions of people. So TV advertising in the terms of doing an advertisement for your product or your business, it still works really well, and you can be very specific with who you want to target. And the costs have come right down as well because it is a lot more competitive industry now. So TV producers and broadcasters are beginning to realize now that they have to bring their costs down to attract businesses to create content for TV broadcasts. But you can be so specific now. So because the television industry, they take a lot of research and they know what the demographic is for people watching every hour, every slot. So they have a lot of good information for businesses to say, would your advertisement work well after EastEnders or, for example, or after Countryfile if it's kind of like a farm product. So
Mm.
it has great appeal. It has great appeal for people and businesses that are really looking to reach a certain demographic. And like I say, now that the cost has come right down, so it's a lot more affordable for people. Obviously, different slots will have different costings. So if you want like a prime time slot where there's more people watching, you're going to pay a little bit more than you would maybe pay for a late night slot, maybe after 10 o'clock or very early in the morning. But yeah, it definitely still works, and you get a lot of data to prove that it does work, to prove kind of how many people are watching or what type of demographic is watching. So it's definitely worth thinking about.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I yesterday I started while ago a basic AI course for companies, just to help them create some content for their social media. Uh, and the question I get all the times with on the webinars or on the workshops, is what about AI videos? Now, obviously, if you are in the industry, you will know much more than we do. Uh, so, what do you think? Is AI going to affect the video industry very, very soon? Like, I mean, from the content creation perspective, because you have those, you know what I mean? Like, you have those content creation um, platforms like ChatGPT. It will give you all the text you need. You have other platforms for music to create music. Um,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, AI is already affecting the media and the video production
oh,
industry.
is
It's
it?
already it's already being used and it's already been implemented into various softwares that we would use regularly. So, for example, now when I'm here in a podcast studio, so we're starting to do podcasts for businesses, and there's tools now that you can use that will make the editing process way more quicker than it would be traditionally. It will sync up your cameras if you're using two or three different cameras. It will extract maybe 15, 30 short form clips and deliver them for the social media platforms. They might not be
Wow.
the best clips, but it will do that for you. And like how we're using it at the minute, so we would use it in some of the software that we use has now implemented AI into it. So it helps with um, a lot of the times when we're producing a film or we're producing lots of short form content, we would transcribe a lot of the interviews or a lot of the people that we're filming, and that used to be done manually. Whereas
Mm,
now that through various different softwares that will do that pretty much instantly within a minute or two. It might not be perfect, but it will give you a script that you can then edit and make perfect in a way quicker time than you used to be able to do. So in terms of transcription, it's really changed the game. Other tools in various software editing programs, they are using it now to help, for example, with music. So again, we used to do a lot of editing with the music of a track to try and keep it to the right time. Where again, now that AI has come in, certain software will compress that music, that song that's maybe 2 minutes, we'll compress it down to 1 minute 50 if your video's shorter than the 2 minutes. You don't always have to do that manually, which again was taking a lot of time. Captions, again, when we used to do our subtitles, that all used to be done manually. And now there's software out there again that can help do that using AI. And again, it'll not be perfect the first time round. You have to go in and edit it, but it just speeds up the process. So it's definitely coming in terms of doing the full job for people that aren't necessarily working in the film and video industry, maybe smaller companies out there that want to do it themselves. It's still early days. There is, some software out there that will help you do that if you're not too worried about the quality of it or you're not concerned that it might appear to be created by AI, then there's definitely software out there that will help you produce content. So it's coming in quick, it's coming in fast, and I suppose we're at a stage now where the companies that are going to embrace it are going to do really well and they're going to prosper, whereas the companies that maybe are fearful of using it or not on the ball, I feel they're going to be left behind. So it's very interesting times with AI in the industry. Yeah.
I'm laughing because I like video editing. Actually, I'm fascinated on video editing, and just for a crack, I went on Google and I looked for video creating tools, AI tools, like So I came across this website. I can't remember what the name was. It doesn't matter, anyways. So they were claiming that if you put a script, if you insert an input, if you input the script of the video, it will come up with a professional video. So just have a laugh. I've wrote down a script, a nice script. Then I re-edited the script to make sure that it gives all the information in as much detail as possible, So then the result, it came like, in fairness, they've made the video, but the video was a picture, the old videos, very, very old videos when you had pictures moving from one side to the other, like a sliding pictures video, like, and they've added music, and uh, it it turned out that my video was supposed to be a war video, was more like a comic video, and I had some. It's supposed to be a fight between Romans and Vikings in my short video, and it came back with a picture of a Viking having hair like that, and wearing wrong clothes. Oh, it was so funny. So yeah, definitely it's on the early stages. Now, the reason I kind of went that route is um, in your career, you've you've worked with so many companies. Now, the question is, from your perspective, what was the best video you've ever done? The best one, like the one that I know it's hard to choose, but like, when you look back, you would say, oh, I think this one was, let's say, A plus in first one, like, work, time, result, quality. Uh, do you have one?
Yeah, it's people often ask me that, and I suppose the one that comes to mind is it might not be one that I'm completely happy with, but it was a big step in my career. Would have been a documentary that I made over 10 years ago, which would have been my first sort of feature length documentary and my first big commission. And it was a film about hip hop culture in Northern Ireland, how it broke down
Oh,
barriers from the early days and the troubles right through to present day. And so for me, again, it stands out because it was something that I was very passionate about. It was very close to my heart because, like I said earlier, I grew up in a subculture, a skating culture.
yeah,
Went to I realized that there was a huge scene in England and in London, but I noticed that there was an offshoot from that culture, which was hip hop culture, that was way more defined and way more had way more people attached to it in England from different
yeah.
cultures and from different. I suppose it was a melting pot of cultures, and I could see it on the walls. I could see graffiti. I went to some of the hip hop nights and heard the rappers and DJs and seen break dancers and that. And I came back from uni and started to notice it here in Ireland and in the north. And I thought this is fascinating because it's such a small country and hip hop's made it here, you know. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought, I came back and I was asking for work and everybody was asking to see my show reel and see experience that I had. And I had very little at that time other than a lot of skate videos and some work that I'd done in university. So I took their advice and I went out and I shot some content myself and made a film, which is something I always advise young people getting into the industry is just make a film, get some experience and make a film about something you're passionate about. So I was blessed that I started going and met some people that I used to be in the skating circle with
Mm.
that had fascinating stories and were able to introduce me into other people that were maybe older than us that had been breakdancing from the 80s and they started like Belfast City Breakers crew and had these fascinating stories of coming from one side of the city to the other side of the city in a time of conflict and a time of the troubles that we had here. So I was really passionate about telling that story, and I went round and I thought I would make a film about the four main, elements of hip hop, which was breakdancing, DJing, graffiti, and MCing, rapping. So I shot some scenes. I sent it to a guy on Channel 4 who was quite high up at the time, and he loved it. We met, and he offered to give me some help with funding that, and our local screen agency here also funded it. So for me, just the whole process was great. It felt so good getting something that I had a true passion for over the line and getting funding for it to be able to go and make it professionally. I learned so much from doing it as well. So for me, that was definitely probably my favorite project to work on, although there was difficult processes with that and working with a broadcaster and delivering it and working with various people in the film as well was challenging at times. But it was definitely one that I'd be very proud of in terms of something that I've delivered myself without too many other influences, you know.
Well, it's great to be challenged. When what was the greatest challenge you've encountered? Like I'm trying to cover this just, and I always ask the people I'm interviewing this question because maybe there is someone from our audience who will have the same challenges as you are, as you have, or as you had, and you know it will help them to go over those challenges easier. So, in your career, what was the greatest challenge? The greatest one? Like we are challenged every day, but there is one, you know, the greatest one. Like, uh,
Well, I suppose for me, it's like I mentioned there. I suppose it was for me coming back from university, and for a long time, like there's this myth that you go to university, you get your degree, and then you find work, you know, and you get your dream job, you know, and that's not the just not the case, you know. So I suppose for me, it took considerable amount of time before I was getting work. I was getting paid work in the industry, and that's a challenge for everybody who leaves university in this industry. So like I would be coming back, and like I said, I was knocking on a lot of doors, and I had some contacts from doing work experience and that type of thing. But a lot of them were asking, you know, how like how do we know what level you're at? Can we see your show reel? Can we see your work? And at the time, like I said, I had very little. I had lots of skate videos, so I'd show them my skate
yeah,
videos, and they like, okay, editing's quite cool. You use some good music, and they're impressed by the tricks. But it wasn't like a broadcast production. It wasn't interviews. It wasn't using lighting. It wasn't using mics and that type of thing.
yeah,
So I suppose like what I always say to people is just get as much experience as you can. So at the time, I did it was so I would ask to shadow people. So some of the contacts that I did have in the industry would say, you know, why don't you go and speak to such and such? He's a cameraman who's been working in the industry for 10, 20 years, maybe longer. So I built a relationship with those guys and said, okay, I'd love to come and shadow you. I'll help you on some shoots for no fee. You know, I just want to learn from you. So there's a great guy that I did a bit of work with called David Barker, and he was filming for a lot of different production companies here in the north, including one that I'd done my work experience with, Double Band Films. So I built up a great relationship with him, whereas he would start to tell me when he was going out on shoots, and I could go with him and I could learn from
mm,
him. And so I would advise doing that. It was one way. So I started to pick up skills in terms of how to use cameras that were being used in the industry at the time. Was learning how you would light interviews and how you would record sound and how you would film B-roll and just kind of the tricks of the trade, basically. So that I would recommend doing that. You know, if anybody's looking to get into the industry straight out of uni, go and do some shadowing, get work experience. Another thing that I did straight out of university was I went and done a 3 week placement with a production company in London called Connected Pictures. And again, same thing. It was a great way. It was not paid, you know, so I had to pay for my own flights, my own accommodation for the 2 weeks, which was a bit of a gamble, like at the time, because I didn't
yeah, yeah.
wasn't expecting anything out of it, but I got a lot of experience out of it. So they sent me to Brussels to do a short promotional video for the British Chambers over there.
Okay,
We're sent over
yeah,
there. And so it was great. And they paired me up with another cameraman from London. So I went out there as a cameraman and as a director and made a short video for the British Chambers of Commerce, which was brilliant. Great experience. And then came back and then I edited that video for them in house, with them coming and guiding me, and we would look at it. I would create an edit, and they would say, "Okay, what if you thought about this? Could you do that?" And then until it was a product that they were happy with, and it was something that I had under my belt, so it was a great way to do that, and it was something that I learned a lot from. And then they had two arms of the business, so they had kind of one team that would be working on corporate videos for businesses, and another team that was working on television projects like documentaries and current affairs and factual entertainment. So I done 1 week in the corporate side of things, working for the business side, and I've done another week working on another floor, which was the TV production side. So I got to learn how the guys shot taster tapes. So I went out with one of the producers and shot a taster tape for her, which was a taster tape's pretty much like a short video that will showcase what your idea is in like 2 minutes.
Oh,
So this idea that it was around firefighting, and it was kind of like a real life look at firefighting. So I went out with the producer and shot some content that would show a kind of day in the life of a fireman, and then came back and started to edit that as well. And then I also did a couple of days just in the production office where people were coming up with ideas, researching ideas, coming up with different ideas that they would pitch to the producers and the commissioners and the broadcasters. So for me, it was a great way of seeing how a production company works. And I learned about the processes of creating content for businesses and for TV as well. So it really opened my eyes. So I would suggest doing that. So get work experience in a company that you want to work with, or a company that you see that they're doing great work, and find individuals in the industry that you could learn from as well and offer your services of, whether that's just lifting bags, carrying lights, carrying cameras, anything that's going to help them a little bit, but then at the same time you'll be able to learn from them too. So I say this to everybody, even for guys coming in to work with me. I'll say, like, come in, we'll do work experience for a couple of weeks, see how you get on, and then see if there's a future for us to work together. So they can get a taste for it, see if we can work together, and hopefully they'll pick up a few things. But that would be my tips for people getting in. So like I say, it's super competitive to be in the industry at the minute, especially with now it's a very challenging time in TV, because a lot of the advertising is going now for social media, is going online. So a lot of the advertising revenue that was always going to television is now being spread out across different platforms. So it's shrunk a lot in television. So it's a lot harder now for production companies to create content and get the budgets to create the content. So another thing I would say as well, just on the whole going to university thing, is that I always would say to people from my own experience that you don't have to go to university to get a career in the film and television industry, because I know a lot of people that have gotten into the industry and gotten into positions probably quicker than people that have gone to university by just going down the work experience route, just going and starting at a low level and working their way up. University is great to learn, to learn about the industry and to learn the academic side of things, but it's not good for, well, it's not the best, depending on what you do. It's not the best way to learn the hands-on stuff. Like you'll be part of a group to work on a film, but depending what your personality is like and who else is in that group, you might not have that much hands-on experience by the time you leave university. So I always say really consider it if university is the right thing for you, because nowadays, like, if people are coming and they're looking for a job, it's not something that you'd be like, oh, they need to have a degree to work in the film and media industry, you know?
but some other industries will look for the degree, and I don't understand why. Because, well, I kind of understand. I have 2 degrees and the master, so I've done a lot of school. Like when I hear something about school now, I'm fed up. But I think when it comes to the university, from my perspective, if I would be the head of school, right? Or if I'll be a person in power, what I'll do, uh, the teachers are higher, they should be
Yeah.
people that are working in the industry. Because like, and you know what I mean by that, because like we've in my case I've done psychology, and I worked with people who were never in practice. They just knew the theory, but they were never ever in practice, which is a shame. How can you teach someone how to act in certain circumstances, like from the psychology perspective? And then um, while I was uh, while I've done my IT degree in Ireland, same thing. There were some teachers teaching us coding or something, but they never worked in, for big companies, or they've never had that experience. So in able to pass on to somebody else, you need to have that experience. You need to be able to show them, you know, here is the camera in your case. Here is how you have to set it up according to, um, I don't know, the lightings, whatever it's outside, if it's dark, if it's light and sound and whatever it is, like, all the settings, not by following the camera manual, if you know what I mean.
Exactly. 100%. It's all about, who you should listen to, And I had exactly the same thing. It didn't take me long to figure out that some of the tutors in the university, like they were coming from the right place, but they maybe worked for a short time in the industry and then
Mm.
decided that they wanted to teach. So it's the same thing. It's probably the number one thing that people should be aware of is who you should listen to, and should listen to people that have the knowledge and the skills that you want to have, and at least done it from a position from where you're at, or a similar position from where you're at. And that's how you're going to learn.
I was not one of the best coding guys, but I had some colleagues. I'm telling you, they were better than the Twitter, because they were saying to the teacher, like asking questions, and he didn't know how to answer.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, that's the purpose of you being there. You need to know how to answer questions, and you need to know how to guide people. When it
I
comes
think
to, sorry, go.
just on that, just one thing I was just thinking about there is like it's so now we're living in such a special time where like all these things that we're discussing is all story led. So it's all telling stories. And now we're living in such a special time where using your mobile phone, you can create stories and it can be shared globally. So what people are looking for now is not people with a degree. People are looking for people who can tell stories and create an audience. So it doesn't matter if you're 8 years old or 10 years old and you've got access to a mobile phone, you'll be able to learn how to tell a story, film yourself, film your friends, and put it together and put it out to millions of people. And it's happening. That's why you're seeing YouTube stars, or you're seeing people that are creating audiences and making lots of money by just telling stories because they know what people want to hear, or they're giving value to people. So it doesn't have to be the high-end cameras. You don't have to be learning from, universities, or, from tutors that are experienced. You can trial and error, you can put content out, see if people like it. If they don't, tweak it. And once people are at that stage and they know how to tell a story and create an audience, the work will just come to them because that's what brands and businesses want, you know?
What about from the business perspective? Like, I mean, from the business perspective, how would branding, for example, will go hand in hand with marketing? Like, I mean, from a business perspective that wants to create a brand, um, how will they be able to balance the, like the professional videos with I don't know, amateur TikToks and instant short videos. So how, from your perspective, like how would a business be able to balance those? Because you are between the hammer and the nail. So which one would you take? Um,
So it's there,
or
like I think what you're asking is, how does the content you put out reflect your brand? And it's something that I would talk to people about quite regularly because a lot of people they're asking, what should we do? How should we promote ourselves? So you want to think like there's different ways that you can do it, but it's like I say it's like your shop window. When you put out video content and people are watching it, it's kind of like people walking up the high street and looking at a shop window front. So if that window front looks nice and it looks like they've spent some money and they've done a nice design and the branding's coming through, it gives off a good impression, right?
Mm.
Whereas if that shop front kind of looks like maybe the managers put something together and they've maybe they're just using natural light and then it's not really there's no ping off it, it's not really engaging. That kind of reflects the business as well, and it kind of looks like they're not really putting much effort into it. So it's the exact same with video content. So if you're a Coca-Cola, you're a $1 billion company, which is why they spend millions, millions every year. They know the value of it, but they'll also use user-generated content as well. So even though you want to promote, you'll do the TV adverts, you'll do the high-end branded content, you'll do that. At the same time, they know that people buy off people. So they'll also use user-generated content, or at least create content that looks like it's been shot by a user, by
Okay.
somebody who's not a professional. So there's different ways of doing it, but yeah, I would say if you're a business and you're looking to attract the right customer and you're looking to attract clients that are going to be of high value to you, you want to be putting content out there that looks like it's a high production value, because then they'll see that you're investing in your content, you're investing in your marketing, your branding. If you're starting off and you're maybe don't have that much of a budget, there's still ways that you can do it that it looks reasonable enough and it looks like it's still a decent quality. You might get somebody in-house to film some content on a phone and do the editing on their laptop, and again using music and some of the AI tools and stuff now that it will look okay. Or other ways of doing it is you'll get somebody in-house who's maybe got a degree, they're just starting off. They can come on board and shoot the content and maybe edit the content too. It won't be as high production value as maybe a production company or a media company. But again, it will be decent quality, it'll be good, and it'll represent your brand fairly. And again, other ways of doing it is a lot of people come to us where they have content that they've shot themselves, that they've maybe used their phone, or they've used a small camera, but they just don't have the editing skills. So again, they can pass that on to a production company like us or another production house that can edit that content and make it look really good, polish it, put some color grade on it, put some titles, text, music, and just lift the whole production value. But yeah, it's a good question. That's a question that we get asked with a lot of the time. And I suppose some people aren't aware of it. Some people will think that they just want to spend as little as possible, but it really does reflect your brand. If you're putting content out of yourself, for example, and it looks like you haven't invested in it properly and you're trying to attract clients that are of a certain level, it doesn't really look great for you or your business. But again, everybody has their own preference,
Yeah.
and that's where I'm from. From my experience working in the industry, and something I spot very quickly. And I can't speak on behalf of other people whether they can spot a clear difference in production values and if that makes a huge impact on them. But for me, it does anyway.
Um, let's say we have small companies, low budget, um, or I don't know, or companies or individuals, self-employed who are just starting. Um, what advice would you give to them in the sense like how should they budget their marketing? It's tough now, like it's not easy. Before we had only the radio, you had to budget, your budget was newspapers, leaflets, radio, and TV, kind of, right? But now you have social media platforms, and it's not one. They are, we can name at least 10 top ones. And then now they move to the advertising through the, the WhatsApp, the communication channels like WhatsApp, Telegram, so you can do ads in there as well. And then you still have the TV, you still have the radio, you still have the leaflets. We know the leaflets don't work anymore, like the conversion rate is very, very low. But how would you advise them to split the budget in such a way that, they get notice, they get at least some return on investment? Because like being in the industry, you will know better what the trends are, and where the industry is heading to.
Yeah. Well, I suppose before everything else is you need to think of your story. What's your story? Okay. So
Mm.
if you're a one band, if you're just starting off and you're not too sure what to do, how to get your message out there, think of what is your message? What is your story? And who do you want to hear your story is the first thing. And then you think about what platform these people might be sitting on, are they LinkedIn? Are
Mm.
they TikTok? And for all these platforms at the minute, you can still get an audience without paying, without paying for ad spend. So you can still get an organic audience. So the first thing is you want to think of is how can I tell my story and who do I want to hear my story? So for example, now more and more people, more and more businesses are going on to TikTok because TikTok will get you the most organic views out of all the platforms at the minute. However, it's also older people like myself tend to see it as a younger platform for younger generations. But that's not to say that businesses do very well off it. For example, construction, manufacturing businesses do great on it, you know. So it's finding out where your audience is and trial and error. But you don't have to employ a big production company or, a media house to do the work for you. Nowadays, mobile phones, iPads can shoot really good video, and you can even buy some add-ons. You can buy like a time mic, and you can buy a small light for very little investment. But again, it's thinking of your story. So ways to get your story across is, you know, do a general video, like do a couple of social media clips a week where you're just telling people what you do. Okay? You want a bit short. Don't be going any longer than 30 seconds, 30, 40, 50 seconds max, because people will just turn off if it's going to be too long. You don't want to bore them. But just get your message across and start putting yourself out there, put yourself in front of the camera, talk about how you do things differently than other people, how you can help people. Um, Testimonials are great. If you are starting to work with people and you've got a couple of clients, ask them, do you mind if I film a short video with you on my phone just to tell people how I've helped you? And a lot
Mm.
of people kind of are a bit reluctant to do that. But most clients would gladly, give you 1-2 minutes of their time and tell you how you've been able to help them in their business. And again, there's no harm, there's no reason why you shouldn't do that. Post it on your platforms, experiment and see where they get good traction. If, for example, you have a manufacturing business, or it could even be like a small crafts business, where you're starting off and you're making jewelry or you're making some handcraft stuff. Film the process. People love to watch things happen in front of them. They love the beginning, middle, and the end. They love the story. So do that same thing. Do it on your phone. Film the process. If you're making stuff, from natural products, film you picking the products from the beach or from the forest, bringing it back, putting it together, do some various techniques, maybe time lapse or slow motion, and then show the final product and put these on TikTok, put these on Instagram, and just see how the engagement goes. And you'll find you might actually have some people that are interested in watching that. Um, and that's how you just build your brand and build your awareness of your company. And it's like I say, it's something you can do now with a mobile phone. But you just have to think about the storytelling process and think creatively about it. And people love watching it, and like the most what you'd often think would be the most boring businesses sometimes become the most engaging and the most interesting because people are doing it in new ways. You know, we're talking to a company at the minute that do really well on social media, and they train people how to learn to drive trucks, and, the safety of the roads and that. Whereas
Yeah, yeah,
something that they think of to be that engaging, but because the business owner is quite charismatic and he's happy to talk on camera and tell people about things that other people are doing wrong or doing great. People like watching it. People like watching people. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there and experiment. And I suppose if something does start to work for you, just keep giving more and more and more. And nowadays you can get some revenue from the likes of, putting YouTube stories. So it doesn't take long for maybe to start to get a bit of money back, and then you can invest that in more equipment and just keep going and going and going. So just have fun with it as well. Don't be scared to put yourself out there, and just tell people what you do, tell people how you can help them. And that's the key, really, isn't it?
yeah. From your like, there was time when, I don't know, when you went to shoot a video or do something, and I don't know, something funny or embarrassing happened to you. Uh, do you have a story like that to share? Like, I don't know.
Um,
I remember I was like, I used to work as a waiter uh, on while in college, to pay for my fees, and we had events, wedding events, always happening, and then we had the media team coming, to video the wedding and to take the pictures, and so the media guys, they were always telling funny stories from the events. Like, there is a story I can't really share. Well, I can, but in or broadcast, like, of what happened in one of the events, but it was so funny. So would you have a story like that to share?
let me think about that. I mean, there's funny things happen on set all the time, and I suppose you don't really see them as that funny. They're funny at the time, and then you kind of forget about them. But you would get you get some, there'd be quite a lot of stories of, like when you mic people up, and you put the microphone up, onto their shirt. And for women, it's very difficult to do that because if they're wearing a dress, they can't just slip it into their pocket or that there. So, sometimes it wouldn't be a strange occurrence if, one of the microphone receivers fell down the toilet, for example, and then they come back and you mic or other things that like presenters are they're great crack to work with, because they're used to presenting on camera, and they keep the energy high, so they're not embarrassed. They just do it until it works. So you might find there's a lot of times that you'll film a take. It should only last 30 seconds, but it'll take 15 minutes because maybe they're laughing too much, or if there's a mental block there and they're not getting it out right. So there's lots of things. Like, it's always fun to be on set. Like, it's always an enjoyable process for both the crew and for the people that you're filming. Um, yeah, I mean, there's 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 things that you would think were funny looking back, but they weren't funny at the time. Like when you're out in boats filming, it's not pleasant, but when you look back, you can kind of see the funny side to it. It's when you're swaying, you're trying to film through the lens very, very quickly. You can get an upset stomach, start being sick, which some people might find amusing. Same, sometimes you're up at heights, and you're filming from heights, or you're
Yeah, yeah.
filming in planes and stuff like that. Which again, it's not funny. I just find it's all fascinating. It's all a great experience. So you're always learning to deal with going a little bit outside your comfort zone, you know. And then yeah, sometimes even like the little mistakes that you make, sometimes you can look back on and see the funny side to them as well. So
Um,
but yeah, there's nothing huge coming to mind. It'll probably come to me later on, but if I can think of anything before the end of the call, I'll let you know.
um, we've done, we've tried to do some video editing for one of the businesses. Some of them they worked very, very well. Some of them they didn't work at all. It's very, from my perspective, it's hard to to get the right video to the right audience. Sometimes you do something wrong. Um, Now, for our audience, now guys, Chris is he's in the north. Would you do videos in the south as well?
Yeah, yeah, we work all across Ireland and the UK. So yeah,
Right.
we work.
Now, if you are looking for a short video or a proper video advertising for your business or to promote yourself, Chris is there to help you out. Chris, thank you very, very much for taking your time, and give us some insights from the video industry. Now, um, you have a really nice studio up there. And you mentioned that you've started the podcasts, and so how will that work out?
Yeah, so we create all sorts of different content. So when we work with somebody who's interested in creating content, we go through, a process with everybody. So how we stand out, I suppose, is we really want to find out how you want to grow or what you want to achieve with your video. We'll not just create a video for you just for the sake of having a video to put on your website or to put on social. We really want to understand you, where you're going with your business, where you want to go in the next 6 to 12 months, and then we'll work on a strategy for you. And we'll do that at our own cost. So we'll have a discovery call. We'll go away and we'll come up with 3 different ways that we feel that we can help you in your business. Then we'll present that to you. If we feel it's a good fit, then you'll be able to pick one of those 3 that you think will be the right fit, and we'll start the process. But either way, there's 3 ideas that we'll create for you. Even if you don't feel it's the right fit for us, that you can go try to produce them yourself or produce them with another company that you prefer to work with. So we have the podcast studio here where people come in, they can book us for a half a day or a day and shoot as many podcasts, as many interviews as they would like. And then from that there, we produce the content. So you produce, your 1 2 hour podcast, but then from that, they produce maybe half a dozen, few dozen clips that you can put on social media. So it's a great way of, again, getting your story across, interviewing people that you feel your audience might be interested in, and I suppose giving value to people as well. So you can come in for, a couple hours, you can shoot content that will give you enough media, enough content to put out for maybe 2 3 months at a time. So it's quite a cost-effective way and a time-effective way of coming in and creating lots of high-end videography and content that you can put out there to your clients. We also do a lot of case studies. So we will work with different businesses on telling their story and how they've helped other businesses through case studies. So we'll go out, film the clients that they've worked with in their location, film interviews with them, kind of testimonial style interviews, and just create short form content that can be used as a case study, again, to put out in socials or to put out on their website. So it's a great way that if you're looking to get into a particular industry or you're doing really good in a particular field, to promote that more and attract more of the same clients. Other work we do would be it's just brand enhancement, promotional video content, where we just figure out what your story is. A lot of business owners, a lot of companies, they work so much in their business. It helps when there's an outsider looking at their business and really defining what they are, or helping them define what they're all about and how they should present themselves. So we work a lot on kind of promotional content that could sit on people's websites and just really the best way to tell people's stories. So yeah, if anybody is interested in either coming in, having a podcast created for them and their brand, or doing some case study videos, promotional videos, short form content, I'd be more than happy to have a chat with them and see if there's any ways we can help them.
Super. Thank you very much. Now, I think we are going to close our interview. Um, I don't really know who the next guest is going to be, but what I hope is that you are going to take all the insights from Chris, because they are going to help you to save money and to get noticed quicker and more effective. So thank you, Chris, for your time. Thank you, guys, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks for having me.